All right, and we're live. Welcome. This is the Aimcise Shooting Great Series, and we have Toby Willcockson with us today. Hi, Toby.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining. The goal for this series was, like I said, to introduce some of the members of the community to each other and spread the word out about their story and their background, and also share some tips and strategies on like what makes you're great at what you do and what makes you successful, in competing and shooting in general. We want to be, the best marksmanship oriented supplement company and help people improve their marksmanship, their shooting, their hunting, and what best, better way of getting our own followers, our own tribe to speak and share their wealth. So yeah, if that sounds good, we're gonna start with some questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Toby, just very briefly for those of our viewers who don't know you, just what's the brief, introduction, and who are you? What makes you, a person of influence in the overall, archery and shooting world?
Sure. So my name is Toby Willcockson. I'm a commercial director of a large ag equipment company called McCormick North America. We sell and service large agricultural tractors all over North America, and I'm responsible for all of the field side of the operation, so sales, service, and parts all over the U.S. and Canada. So I have multiple territory managers that work for me out in the territory, and I'm responsible for all the organization. And just like today, I'm on the way to one of our largest trade shows. Outside of that, my true passion and what I do in the majority of my free time is I am a professional competitive archer. My main focus is ASA, so 3D. I just joined the known pro class this year. It's a very, very competitive class, a very competitive sport across the board. There's usually 12 to 1,800 competitors that'll shoot all 6 pro-ams across the United States every year. And I've been using Aimcise supplements for a little over 3 years now. Started using them right when they first came out, and Profocus has literally changed the face of the game for me. So under those high pressure situations, whether it's in my professional life or whether it's in an archery competition, it really helps me bear down and focus on the task at hand. It brings a lot of mental clarity and stability. Really helps you perform under pressure. And, my professional life, it takes a lot of organization, a lot of communication, a lot of focus to keep everything going in the right direction. Whether it's, analyzing market conditions, putting together forecasts and budgets for the year, organizing travel schedules, what have you, dealer visits, etc. And, in the archery world, it's, focusing on that 12 ring at 51 yards on a javelina when there's, comes down to the last shot and you've got to have those extra 2 points. And it's Profocus has really helped me all across the board.
Thank you, Toby, and great intro. And I'm glad that our products help you in your sport as well as your professional, day job. And it's it's really good to hear that. How did you get started in competing in archery? I also saw like that you actually shoot rifles as well. So I'm curious about that because I'm more of a rifle shooter myself. I'd like to know.
So I've been a huge firearms enthusiast in years and years, and in the state I live in Missouri, our firearms deer season is only 10 days long. So my passion for archery began about 7 years ago, and I thought, why restrict myself to only having 10 days to go out and hunt deer when the archery season is almost 4 months long? So I went out, bought a bow, just a kit bow, low end, thought I'll give it a shot. I don't want to invest a bunch of money in case I don't like it. Went out my very first year, harvested a doe, with my compound bow and immediately just fell in love with the sport. Fast forward about 2 years later, and a buddy of mine was in his front yard shooting. I stopped by one day just to talk, and it was the middle of June. I said, "What are you doing shooting your bow this early?" He said, "Well, I'm going to a 3D competition." "What is that?" He's like, "Well, grab your bow and go with me." So we hopped in the car, and the very next day we went to a 3D competition. I just had a hunting setup and full metal jacket arrows and multi-pin sight, and shot the worst sport of my life and absolutely fell in love with the sport of 3D archery. And the rest is really history. Bought long bars and target sights and target arrows and then a target bow, and went down the rabbit hole, and here we are a few years later and competing in one of the premier classes in our sport. So any extra minute I have outside of my professional job, I'm shooting bow, whether it's hunting or indoor, which we're getting ready to start shooting indoor. We just got done with 3D season, so indoor will be starting in no time. And it's every waking second that I have extra, I've got a bow in my hand. It's truly a passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But rifle hunting is a lot the same. I mean, I've got a couple long range rifles, and I'm going out here in about 2 more weeks, or I guess 3 weeks, to go rifle elk hunting in Montana. And I've been working on my long range rifle, working on my dope chart, and making sure that if I have a 500-yard shot, I've got the equipment, I've got the experience, and I'm prepared to take it. So they kind of go hand in hand. And again, Profocus works. It doesn't matter whether you're doing your 9 to 5 or you're shooting a rifle or shooting a bow. That it really helps bring the focus in and eliminate all the external factors and helps you conquer the task at hand.
Yeah, thank you, Toby. And what a wonderful story. And like, I can sense the passion you have in the sport. And it actually reminds me of just last week I've interviewed a couple of fellas, Dr. Duck. They're a duo of duck hunters, and have been just promoters of the sport. And they were introduced by a mutual friend, and that led to a lifelong friendship, and TV spots and launching businesses together. And what you said about your friend bringing you to a competition, it just shows the power of the community, how just one intro can change the entire course and the trajectory of your life and introduce you to something that now is a big part of your life. So yeah, that's why we're doing this, and I'm glad to hear a story like that. So thank you again for sharing. I wanted to ask you some more tactical questions that pertain to like the way you do business of archery and also shooting, and it helps that you come from both worlds. Just share some tips and tactics and strategies that you use to do better and place higher and take home more game. I've got a few questions. So a lot of folks that kind of like don't know where to start, or they're not sure, just new to either shooting or archery or hunting. So like, your best advice for someone who just like has got a little bit of experience but not sure how to get it to the next level, just like where they have to get serious, like what would you recommend some of the steps you take?
On the archery side, if somebody wants to get into target shooting, whether it be indoor, field, 3D, the best thing to do is just find a local pro shop. Go to your local pro shop, talk to all the guys in there. I mean, your target shooters, your guys that do most of the competing, they're going to be in those shops. They're going to be working on their equipment. They're going to be practicing. The shop owners, all those guys, they're going to know where the local shoots are. A lot of times the pro shops are the ones putting on the shoots. And just take the time and the initiative to practice and go to a local shoot and just start there. Don't go with any big goals. Just go shoot your bow and try it. It's not for everybody. I've taken a lot of friends to 3D shoots that have never been back, and I've taken other customers that have come into the shop and taken them to their first 3D shoot, and they're there every month. They come to every shoot. But just put yourself out there and the archery community, the rifle shooting community, any of the, the sporting communities are very tight knit, and they're a very welcoming community. I mean, you become friends with everybody really, really fast. They're very friendly, very easy to talk to, very forthcoming with information, and we love to help. That's the thing that I love about this industry more than anything, is just the camaraderie and how everybody goes out of their way to help each other be successful and welcome new members into the community. So if somebody's looking to get started, go to your local pro shop, talk to the owners, talk to the guys in the shop, and just go to a shoot and try it.
No, yeah, I love that advice, and just learning from people who are a few steps ahead. And obviously it's such a passionate community that everyone's willing to help and bring each other up, and that's what's great about this. Okay, cool. Now obviously you're a more seasoned competitor, you've done this for a while. What are some of the strategies and tactics you use to increase your confidence and like going to like a very serious shoot, or maybe like difficult condition hunt or something like that?
Well, I mean, the generic answer is practice, and that's also the correct answer. I shoot anywhere from 75 to 100,000 arrows a year. And like I said, every waking second I have extra time, I have a bow in my hand. And I don't just shoot arrows to shoot arrows. I focus on the process. I focus on the task at hand. Instead of just flinging arrows to keep my body in shooting shape, I will basically reenact a pressure situation. I'll put it in my head that, every arrow is my last arrow. Every arrow has to count, one arrow at a time. I know a lot of guys, they'll go out there and they'll just sling a bunch of arrows down range and say, oh yeah, I shot 500 arrows a day. Well, how many of those 500 arrows did they actually focus on? And every day is different. Everybody has their good days and their bad days. If I have a bad day of practice, I'll go outside and shoot a couple dozen arrows. And if I'm just not feeling it, I'll put it up. Because bad practice will actually do more harm than good. So, and on my good days, when I'm dialed in and everything's flowing and the shots are breaking good and the bow is holding right, those are the days that I'll shoot 400 or 500 arrows. Just building that confidence in your equipment and having that almost that feeling that you can't miss. And a lot of that has to do with, not just shooting your bow, but spending time tuning your bow and trying different things, stabilizer angles and weight ratios and different power lenses and colors of fiber. And, I'm a tinker. I really like to try different things, different draw lengths, de-loop lengths, holding weight, just to find that perfect setup that works. And once you find it, make notes, write it down. I keep a journal or a log of everything that I've tried and how it affected my setup and the downrange performance of the bow. And just like you do with competition rifle shooting, you go out and you try different loads and you ladder test and figure out what that rifle likes and what works best for your shooting style. It's the exact same thing with archery. You've just got to practice and make notes. And like I said, on those bad days, don't be afraid to put that bow up and go do something else and clear your mind. You don't want those demons riding on your shoulder going, oh yeah, remember 2 days ago when you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn? You don't want that in the back of your mind when you're trying to bear down on 12 at 50 yards and, with thousands of dollars on the line. Same thing when you're shooting an indoor game. You don't want those demons riding on your shoulders of, oh yeah, you're going to miss this last arrow. You want all of that out of your head. You want to have a clear mind and be able to really focus and have the confidence in your setup and your ability. And 99% of that is done behind the scenes before those competitions come up.
Yeah, no, thank you. There's quite a lot to unpack here for such a short question, but definitely there's a lot of things that I like hearing, like having the trust in your equipment, putting in the time to set it all up properly and then make sure it is functional. As someone, same thing like we did in the military when I was in airborne school, or just, when you get ready to go through that door, you got to make sure that you got to trust that, your weapon will function, that your team is there for you, that your parachute will open and somebody packed for you. So, this rings very true. Like, you got to trust your equipment, and that gives you confidence already. And then also, I love the drill that you do with visualizing like your best shots from before, and sweeping your mind clean of all the like bad days, and actually trying to minimize those bad days and not have those training scars, as we call them. So yeah, that's I think that's excellent advice. Is just having confidence in your equipment will give you a boost. Reliving your best days from having done this before many times in practice or previous competitions, and falling back on that, and then minimizing the mental clutter. And the mental part keeps coming up and up and up again in our talk today, and I love that, like, because so much of success is mental. Obviously physical and practice, time doing the reps is all important, but you win in your mind first. That's great advice, so thank you for that. And tying into that, like with confidence, like you also sometimes we had questions about how do you motivate yourself, how to keep yourself going, how to push yourself to get to the next level. What are some of the tips for motivating yourself?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, you just have to have the passion for the sport. If your heart's not in the sport, it's going to be terribly difficult to motivate yourself to do it. Some guys have the bug and some guys don't. I've always been one that once I set my mind to something, it's going to be records or checkers. I'm either going to win or I'm going to go down in flames, and there's no in between for me. And there's some guys that just want to do it as a hobby, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Same goes with, hunting or competitive rifle shooting, or just in your 9 to 5. I mean, if you don't have that drive, it's going to be terribly difficult to motivate yourself. But, for somebody that does have the drive and does have the passion, it's the motivation is just naturally there. It's wanting to get to that next level, wanting to, score a couple points higher than you did last time. And that's my main motivation. Is I set my my key motivational points off of my previous scores. So if I shot 20 up the weekend before or at the last Pro-Am, my goal for the next one is to shoot 2, 4, 6 points higher than that. And that's what keeps me motivated and keeps me thriving for more. I always want to score just a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And just continually focusing on tweaking the setup and practicing better, and overcoming those mental blocks that I have through practice. That way I'm better prepared for the tournament when I'm there. It's what keeps me going.
No, that's great. And yeah, I like how you are competing with yourself really, and not with somebody else. And I guess it's a good mental trick to, no matter how strong the competitor is, the first person you want to beat is your old self from the day ago. So that's powerful. Thank you. Okay. What kind of things can you share about keeping yourself disciplined? Like any routines you follow, or any favorite things you do before going into a match or a competition that keeps you organized and disciplined?
Yeah, I'm a creature of habit when it comes to that. I have a morning routine that I do every day, exactly the same. I have a playlist that I listen to before every competition. It's exactly the same. And it's just to put my mind in the state that I want it to be in, that extreme focus going into the competition. And I try not to steer away from that too much. Some competitors will get so into it that, I mean, they eat the exact same thing every night before. They sleep the exact same amount. They eat the exact same thing every morning. I'm not quite to that extreme, but I definitely have a certain set of activities that I do before a competition, during a competition. I try not to, a lot of guys will go out and they'll cruise around the vendor village and, talk a whole bunch, hang out, and some guys like to go out and party the night before. And like I said, I'm a creature of habit. when I show up on the day that we score, I do a set list of things before the competition, and that's it. After the competition is over, then it's, the gloves are off and we can hang out in the vendor village and talk bows. And when it comes time for that scoring round, it's, it's game time, and my focus is at its highest level. So, and that repetition of doing the exact same thing before the scoring round starts, it just puts my mind and my body in that kind of stage of focus where it's like, okay, it's game time. We're used to this. We're ready for this. And we go out and we shoot arrows. Hopefully they land where we want them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, especially a little tip about the musical playlist. I think Floyd Mayweather, he has like a special playlist that, before every fight he plays. And about having a routine, obviously you're not as superstitious as some others, or definitely I can see the value in like keeping things consistent. Like if this worked for me on that day when I did well, then I will do the same thing today to get myself into that state as close as possible. So yeah, that's very good advice. All right. I know obviously you mentioned focus and multiple times throughout the last 20 minutes already, but I still want to ask you, like, what role does focus and calmness play? And besides using our products, Profocus, like any other things you do in order to get calm and focused on what you're about to do?
Well, I mean, obviously focus is one of the most important, if not the most important part of the game. If you can't focus on a spot, whether it's on a paper target or a 3D target or on an animal, you're setting yourself up to fail and to miss, which is what we all try not to do. Obviously, like I said, I use Profocus. I have for years and years and years. It's just something that I've found that's helped me focus just that little bit more. It whether I'm trying to stare at a 12 ring or stare at an X ring or stare at the kill zone on an animal, it just kind of calms me down, and it blocks out all the external factors that are going on, whether it's the wind or the people or, cameras or things in my personal life or whatever. It helps block all that out. That's just something you have to train yourself to do. And again, that's why I said part of my practice is to focus. It is to reenact that competition situation, or that high stress situation, whether it's a 200-inch whitetail downrange or whatever you're trying to achieve. I reenact that way. When that situation arises, that focus is already practiced, and also it almost becomes muscle memory. That's why we practice shooting our bows, is to get that muscle memory built into our bodies. That way it becomes natural. Well, that's fine, but if you're not practicing the focus part of it, you can have all the muscle memory you want. If you can't pick a spot, you're going to miss 10 times out of 10. So focus is a very, very important part of my routine, as well as a key to success in competitions and in hunting.
Okay, thanks. And I hear that you are leveraging a visualization techniques, replaying those perfect shots in your mind in order to get to that state. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
As much as I travel for work, I'm not always able to take my bow along with me. I'm not always able to shoot my bow, but those visualization techniques, it's something that you can do inside of the car while you're driving it. You can do it in the office, the hotel room. I mean, you don't physically have to shoot your bow, your gun, whatever the sport is. You don't have to enact the physical movement of that sport. You can use those visualization techniques to really help practice that part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever use visualization future-paced, like imagining yourself on that podium, imagining yourself, getting that medal or that award? Do you ever do that? Because I know a lot of athletes.
Of course.
Do. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I think any successful athlete either does it or has done it at one time, and that really helps relieve the stress of that moment and bring calmness into the shot or into the performance. A lot of guys, especially the Vegas rounds, that's the biggest part of it is you'll get to that last shot it's like, oh man, the 300's on the line, and you can see the podium, and you can see what you want to achieve, and it freaks you out. Your mind just goes haywire, and a lot of guys have shot 299s because of it and missed that 300. Mm-hmm. And those visualization techniques, again, visualizing yourself with that perfect game, standing on the podium, receiving whatever reward, winning the tournament, achieving your goals in your job. I mean, whatever it is, but visualizing the success will really, really help you. It'll help expedite the process of getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I like how you mentioned that if you aren't visualizing it, then when you are in that or close to that, point in time, it may shock you and throw you off your game. So yeah, that's a good tip. And you ever do any like self-talk, and like, positive self-talk, like, I got this, I'm badass, I'm champion, whatever, any silly like mantras or anything?
I didn't used to, but the last couple of years I have. Before every shot, I will, I'll walk up to the target and, well, I'm going to shoot the 12 on this, or I'm going to pinwheel it, or I'm going to smash this guy's arrow, or just that positive reinforcement. And that's another huge part of success in this game is you walk up and you go, oh God, don't miss. Well, first thing you're going to do is miss. Mm-hmm. Don't shoot a 5, don't shoot an 8. That's where that arrow is going 10 times out of 10. That's something, like I said, just recently, the last couple of years, I've started that positive reinforcement, that self-talk. I'll walk up and it's like, okay, I'm going to shoot the upper 12 on this 37-yard taper. It's going in the middle. Mm-hmm. And it helps. It definitely does. It brings a lot of calmness and confidence into the shot.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. Like, you'd never believe that something simple as this would play such a huge part, but yet it does. And, call it whatever it is, like, but I keep hearing it again and again, how these little silly things seem to make such a huge difference. So yeah, definitely. Any favorite practice drills like that you do before going into like an important shoot, like anything like?
Not specifically. I'm notorious for, shooting a lot of groups. I like to smash arrows together. My friends make fun of me all the time because I'm always posting pictures of broken arrows, and they're like, you can pick a different spot. But that's just a confidence builder for me. When I can stand out there, whether it's in my yard or on the practice range, wherever at the shop, and shoot 4 or 5 arrows at 50 yards, and they just stack in there and smash together, that really helps build confidence and almost builds momentum going into the season. So that's something that I do a lot, is I'll shoot groups. Some guys like shooting 1 arrow at a time. I like shooting 4 or 5, 6 arrows and just smash them together. Like I said, it builds a lot of confidence in my performance.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're almost out of time. Fortunately, I'd love to keep this going, but I wanted to ask you one last question, and that is like, what is your favorite quote that you'd like to leave our viewers with? Ideally related to competition or shooting or archery, or it could be just your favorite life quote too.
Well, this probably sounds cliche, but it's one that I say all the time, and it doesn't matter whether it has to do with work or hunting or whatever it is, but it's, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I live my life by that quote.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. And it's a great reminder, of just getting out there and, doing the best you can and, having a good time. And that's all what it's all about. So
right.
Thank you, Toby, very much for your time this morning. And, I wish you luck in all of your competitions that are coming up. And I want you to win lots of prizes. And thank you for supporting Aimcise and being a loyal user. So again, thanks a lot. Is there somewhere where people can find you to, follow you and find out more about you and what you do?
Yep, I've got Instagram and Facebook. Those are the only 2 social medias that I use, and it's Instagram's at Toby Willcockson, and my Facebook page is just Toby Willcockson. I'm easy to find. No funny hashtags or anything like that. So look me up, give me a follow, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, thank you, Toby, and have a great rest of the week.
All right, you too. Thank you.